Meg from the Teacher Studio here with another blog post all about geography. So I hope you'll stick with me and find out some great reasons why we really must be teaching geography and mapping skills in elementary school. So the first reason I want to talk about why we should be doing more work with geography is that we can really help students kind of understand their place in space more. This idea of world awareness, where we live, how that relates to other places, understanding the characteristics of different regions, what it means if you live close to the equator or by an ocean, or if you live very north or very south. All of these ideas help build students' understanding of their place in the world. And I think that's really, really important. Now, I will go into a little bit more detail on all of these in the blog post. So this is meant to be giving you kind of an overview. But another really important topic is this idea of when we study the world, we can also study different cultures and have better understanding of what it is like to live in these different places. I already mentioned that it's important for students to kind of know where they are on the planet, but it's also important to recognize that all people everywhere have certain things in common, and then we also have certain things that are different. Some of it is based on beliefs, some of it is based on actually their location. If you live in a small village in the mountains, your life will be different than if you live in a big city at the base of a river, things like that. So helping our very global world shrink down and helping students to understand their place, and also that what their life is like in their little place on the planet might be vastly different than other places. And this is super important information. If your school or district is big on science of reading, then you will know that one of the most important components of reading is background knowledge. Students can't comprehend text if they don't have a lot of experiences in their back pocket. And teaching the content areas, science and social studies, is one way to build that background knowledge. Studying geography and the world and different places in the world is one perfect example. We want students to be able to be critical thinkers. If they hear about something like wildfires in Canada, we want them to have some idea where that is and how it affects them or doesn't affect them. If we hear about a volcano in Hawaii, or we hear about different disasters or different experiences or where a certain animal might live, we want them to have a basic understanding. This allows them to think more critically about new topics they learn and things they read. So that is another really important reason why teaching geography is so important. Now, I've kind of hinted at this with the last slide, but another really important reason to teach about this topic is we want students to have an understanding about our planet and how fragile it really is. When we understand about glaciers and the melting ice caps, we understand about ocean levels and floods and things like that. These are global issues. And as students get into middle school and high school, of course, they'll tackle them at a much more sophisticated level. But what we can do at elementary school is plant the seeds and build that foundation to prepare them for that learning that is coming ahead. Not to mention, kids in elementary school have a real passion for things like animals and the environment and taking care of our planet. So if we can learn more about that and get that passion started, we're setting them up for success. All right, keep going with more reasons, right? Okay, this kind of piggybacks with what I was just talking about with the environment. But when you think about the different things that you study in your classroom in a year, whether it's history, whether it's literature, understanding the world is such an important part of deepening those other fields of study. A perfect example, and I write about this in the blog post, is I do a big historical fiction unit. I love it. I'm super passionate about it. But if I didn't take the time during that unit to pull out maps, when I read Number the Stars, if students don't know where Denmark is and they don't know where Sweden is, the big part of the story is missing. They don't understand how close Denmark and Sweden are, and they don't understand when we're talking about World War II where it was happening. So when we are thinking about the different topics we are studying, whether it's an endangered animal and we can pull out a map, or we are reading a story that is set in California and we can help students get their bearings. This is a way to build that background knowledge. Again, this is all in support of science of reading, but also it is engaging for students. When we can help make the learning more real and more meaningful, students will attend better and they will retain more. My final reason, and there are tons more, but my final reason for this blog post is that learning about geography helps prepare students for the future. And this could be the world of work. We are a much more global society. The world has shrunk with the internet. We might work for companies that are abroad. We might travel abroad and work for companies back home. The world has gotten smaller. And by exposing students to this information, we are preparing them for that. Or simply on a more personal level, by learning about the world and getting students curious about it, could open up options for travel, for recreation, for where they settle. And so I think that just this idea of we don't know what the future will bring. If you would have told me when I was in fourth grade that you would be able to touch your phone and pull up a map, I would have looked at you like you were crazy. So who knows what the world will be like when our students are adults. So by learning about it, we're helping set them up for success. Okay, finally, learning about the world is really fun and it's really exciting and it doesn't all have to be worksheets. I want to show you a few of the projects I do now. I do a lot more than this, but this just kind of maybe can give you the feel for why my students get so excited about learning geography in fourth grade. So I start the year off with this unit and I do it in little bursts throughout the year because I just think it's some of these activities are great little fillers like in a 3-day week like at Thanksgiving, and also some of them are timely with some of the other units I do. But I do everything from learning about map key, map titles, different types of maps, how to do directions on a map. We design our own compass roses. We hang those up. Students love that. We learn about landforms. We do a little interactive notebook where students learn about the different features. We find them on maps. Again, this is one of our very first research opportunities that we do during this school year. The students love that. We learn about how our world is divided in different ways. We divide it into hemispheres, we divide it into regions, we divide it into continents. And so I have a number of different art projects that we do to help kind of cement that knowledge. We also shrink it down. We talk about our country, the United States. We talk about our state. We talk about what borders us. We make maps. We learn different terminology and vocabulary. We actually learn about latitude and longitude. We draw maps of the world by putting the continents in those different places. Students love this. I introduced the word cartography to them. We find our country, we find states we visited, we do all sorts of different things to help kind of, again, find their place in space. We also, and this is one of my favorites, is we invent a world. And it has continents just like ours. And the continents are divided into countries, and each student is given a country that they get to design together. So if you look in the middle, this continent here is made up of several countries put together, and then the students who are working on it have to coordinate to get their rivers to line up and to have conversations about what different features, like you obviously can't have a swamp touching right up against a desert, so students have to work through that. It is a ton of fun, and they are able to apply all the different things that they have learned. So anyway, I hope I've convinced you that teaching geography is a really important piece of what we do to build background knowledge for our students, to engage them, and it doesn't have to be a bunch of worksheets. It can be tons of fun. I'd love to know what you think, and we'll see you real soon.